You know, the first thing I thought about this morning wasn't about how my day was going to be, but it was about Spencer's nipples and how much I wanted to twist them.
Bruh.
Why buy a comic that would cost more than a dime? Come meet the brothers who are here to waste your time.
Welcome to Dime Comic Bros Podcast. That's why we don't let Colin do the opening joke this week. Well, let's just get into the main topic, shall we? We just finished watching Dredd, the 1991 original movie starring Sylvester Stallone.
No.
Incorrect.
Do I have the wrong script?
I think we watched the good one, or the one that doesn't involve him taking off his helmet for the whole movie.
And which one would that be?
That would be the one with Carl Urban.
In what year?
I believe 2012?
Mm-hmm.
Also starring Lena Headey and...
Olivia...
The other person?
I got it. Don't worry.
I can cut this later.
Olivia Thirlby. Thirlby.
This is why we don't let Colin read into the mic.
Yeah, Colin has a little difficulty reading.
Honestly, you would too.
I mean, yes. If I had your sight, yes.
Yeah, I need better glasses. Someone was flipping me off at work today, and I couldn't tell if he was flipping me off or not, so I came up to him like, were you flipping me off? He's like, oh, yeah, of course. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I thought so. And I walked off.
That's rough.
So Dredd.
Yeah.
I like that it was a thing in that movie where he was talking about, oh, you left your helmet behind. She's like, well, I need it because I don't need the helmet because it tampers with my psychic energies. And he's like, I think a bullet will do the same effect. It's like, all right, there's a nod to the old movie.
Yeah, probably. So Jacob, what did you think about this film?
It was good. It had the right amount of camp and just R-rated action movie and kind of low budget and...
Oh, definitely low budget.
But still,
I think they played off it pretty well.
It was all the right proportions.
You could tell about the slow motion. Like, you could tell that it's like low budget because of the slow motion and some things. But I think they played off that well because some of the blood and such looked really like bad. But they played off of that by showing it in like the drug.
The digital blood was definitely. I think the thing that aged the hardest was digital blood. That stuff doesn't usually age well, and it was a bit... Because whenever they're in a slow-mo sequence, it pretty much always has to be fake blood, just to get the effect, to get that amount of control over it that they want. So
besides it being like low budget, I don't like slow-mos, so that's my biggest critique. When we first started watching the movie, I was like, oh man, I'm already bored because I hate slow-mos. I hate slow-mos so much.
It's ironic because you do like Zack Snyder movies, which also include a lot of slow motion.
That's different.
Is it though?
Wonder Woman used a ton of it.
His slow-mos aren't that long. They're short periods.
Have you watched the movie 300?
Wonder Woman.
No, because I'd rather not think of it as like in existence.
300's great.
I'd rather not. It's really
also starring Lena Headey.
Also true. Wonder Woman definitely had a good amount of slow motion because that's how...
that's when I noticed it.
Like, the universe was set up that the Amazons move at such a speed and in such a way that it would just make sense to continue using slow motion in that way, so Patty Jenkins just kind of used the same thing.
Speaking of Lena Headey, her character in this movie kind of bothered me.
Really?
Her motivations were just crazy because I'm crazy, kind of.
True.
There were... I don't know. Her part in the story didn't make much sense to me, not in a good way. Like, she's obviously supposed to be crazy, but she wasn't a very good crazy.
I think the whole movie was just playing off the fact that all these people, there's no one that was super intelligent, no one that was like super amazing, to be honest. It was just playing off of the fact that, cops have become like, it's like a fascist organization, and already shows you the corruption within the judges at the like middle to end. But I think it was just
1 million credits.
Speaking of credits, one of the reasons why this movie, while very popular with the Dredd fan base and fairly well received by critics and audiences, it didn't even break even on its production budget of $45 million.
Good
That's
segue.
not including marketing. There have been so many fan petitions, of which I have been a part of it, and Carl Urban has actually gotten in on it a little bit and trying to look for like maybe a TV series or something to follow up on it, because it was well received. It just wasn't seen by too many people.
Right.
It's kind of lame.
Speaking of not too many people seeing it, this is my first time seeing this movie, and also Colin's.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have seen it many times. I was a big fan when it came out in 2012. It was one of the first R-rated movies that I watched, because I was 11/12, and I was like, hey, this is gory. I like it. It's got lots of guns.
I'm edgy.
Yeah, I was. And yeah, so I enjoyed the crap out of it when I was younger, and kind of just kept dragging it along into adulthood now.
That explains your stature and your stoic.
Stoicism.
Your stoicism. You know, I'm going to
No.
slap you.
Please no slappy.
You like it.
No.
What else about Dredd?
Honestly, I don't feel like there's much like that needs to be said. I think it was like an entertaining movie. I definitely play it in the background while like I have people over, but I don't think I'll watch it again. I like
What kind of people do you have over?
people like you.
Oh, okay.
But like I like Cyberpunk. I've always have, but like this version of Cyberpunk reminds me of Batman Year 100.
Yeah.
Very
actually,
much.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that kind of that similar visual style.
Definitely, it's gritty.
Yeah, I definitely yeah. Oof. That's such a good book. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fairly straightforward, so Mr. Pretentious over here isn't going to start talking about too much, because the themes are pretty evident, and there isn't much else behind them. It's just
Action movie, R-rated.
Yeah.
Corruption, both of the two main characters go through an arc.
Popcorn.
That's all there really is to it. Nothing.
Basically Cyberpunk.
It kind of
Punisher.
bothers me that the young, innocent judge-to-be, like, realizes through the whole thing that there's something kind of wrong with being a judge, and it looks like she's walking away from it at the very end, and then the last shot is her being a judge. It's like,
Well, the
her
way
part didn't make sense.
The way I've always interpreted that is she obviously understands pretty early on in the movie that the organization in of itself is kind of screwed. Like, she definitely sees that because of her personality difference.
I feel like that's like an any cop type of thing.
Also true. But like that in combination with the fact that Dredd, she thinks basically for most of the movie that Dredd's always just gonna fail her because he's Dredd and he doesn't have feelings or whatever. By the end of it, Dredd sees the value in what she's doing, even though he doesn't do it himself. Like, per se, you can see that he...
Admirable.
Right, what she wants to do is admirable, and he understands her approach being different and, less, instant execution. So when he decided to look over the fact that she had multiple things that should have failed her, he's like... I don't want to say subtly, because it's not subtle, but he's acknowledging that she still has a place there.
Yeah, and
So
it's justified the means.
I don't think she walked... I never thought she walked away because she thought it was not going to work. Like, she was just the organization was too corrupt. I think she just thought she was going to fail. So
Oh,
she just
definitely.
walked
That's
away.
why she walked away.
But then, obviously, Dredd's like, nah.
She passed.
But that's just how I looked at it. But yeah, it's definitely interesting.
It's just a straightforward movie.
Honestly,
I have
yeah.
nothing else to say, nothing pretentious. It was alright.
So, what you're saying is that this movie passed?
No.
Oof. I think this movie does pass.
I think you have low standards for movies.
Says the one who watches primarily anime.
That's not true at all. It's not true. But you might say that when we talk about what we've been watching recently.
So, Colin, what have you been watching?
So, I started watching Neon Genesis Evangelion.
I've started watching that as well.
You have?
I have.
So, it's like really cool so far. I'm like 5 episodes in. And it's like, of course, there's the anime girls. Of course, there's that. It's 1990s, and the like main characters are 14-year-olds who are like somewhat sexualized sometimes. But
Okay.
Okay. Other than that, it's like a psychological thriller. And it's really good in how it does it, like visuals.
I've heard the name, but honestly, I have zero familiarity.
So
with
like it's like giant robots fighting these like so-called angels, and we don't know what they are yet because I'm 5 episodes in. And it's like they use these, like I forget what they call them, but the main character's like robot thingy that may also be a living organism is 01. Out of 2 so far, because there's 2 of them, 00 and 01. 01 is the newest one, and it's called an Evangelion, and it fights these so-called angels. And he's like new to the thing. It's like this like robot is synchronized to him.
It's a lot like Pacific Rim.
I was literally about to say it sounds
except good.
Like, yeah, that's it. It sounds like Pacific Rim, but better.
Yeah, Pacific Rim just was trying to rip it off. But there's 3 people in there, or is it 2?
It's 2.
Oh, it's still gay.
I will admit I did like the first Pacific Rim a decent bit. It was solid, and then the second one, not a big fan. I did enjoy John Boyega in it, but I did not enjoy any other part of it.
I saw the first one once and never went back.
I'm just not a fan of kaiju, like in general. Never really have been.
What is kaiju?
Kaiju, giant monster animal things.
Nope.
Giant robots.
King Kong,
Godzilla, that stuff.
I don't really like it either.
I like a few of them, but I've never been a big fan of the really big, blowing up, destruction, eating people thing.
Me either, but except for like obviously Attack on Titan. But I only watched the first season. It got boring. But I was highly recommended. Like this show was highly recommended to me, and so I was like, okay, fine, and we watched it like projected and everything.
Nice.
And it was amazing, because it wasn't just like monsters blowing up and everything. It was just a psychological thriller.
That's interesting. I would not have thought of those two going together.
Me either. And once I saw it, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
And adding it to my list.
Yes, it's on Netflix.
I haven't really gotten the psychological thriller theme yet, but
what episode are you on?
am only 2.5 episodes in.
Oh, you must have seen a psychological thriller. Remember the scene where he's running, he's like walking outside, and eventually it turns like all like magenta reddish around him. And it's like he's having a panic attack.
Nope.
And like
I don't remember any of this.
Okay, well that's in one of the episodes. I can't remember which one, but
okay.
Yeah, it gets dark real fast.
Nice.
But it's so good.
Cool.
It like reminds me of like Cowboy Bebop, but just because it's made in the
Anime.
same. It's anime, but it's made in the same time, like 90s.
Yep.
Yeah.
And cyberpunk. I love cyberpunk. I realize that now.
Yes.
So that's what I've been watching.
Nice. Jacob, what have you been watching?
I finished the first season of Border Town, which is a Netflix special. I believe it's Polish.
Huh.
Murder mystery.
Huh.
It's, if you read the description on Netflix, it describes itself as like a Polish Netflix. I want to look up the I can't talk today.
I tried to stop watching Netflix stuff like after watching their Apostle, because that like messed me up real weird. Like that was a really weird movie. Have you guys seen that?
Nope.
Real weird.
Finland. It's a Finnish show.
Ooh. Fun fact, every line in Finland is a Finnish line.
I wanted to use that one. Thank you, Wordsplayed.
Yeah.
So it advertises itself as like a Sherlock, but the Finnish version, I didn't really get those vibes. They only say that because he goes into his mind palace and figures out the mystery a lot like that. But I would say it's more like Monk, but like super duper serious and edgy and rough.
That's weird, because Monk is like the exact opposite of that. It's like stupidly sanitized and corny.
Right. It's the same. He's got like the same. He finds it difficult to relate to people.
Yeah, he has the same social disorders.
Kinda. He has a wife and kids. And one of my high praises of this show is that the family actually gets along. It's not a shitty family like every single TV family.
Huh, that's rare.
Yeah. So, that was one of my favorite things about this show.
Nice.
Until they started lying and cheating. but the mysteries were really good. There were some really good hooks in the opening scenes of episodes. Most episodes were like 2-parters, and they're like an hour long each, so it's like serialized in that way. So a lot of mature themes, and it held my interest.
Nice.
Spencer, what have you been watching?
Do you know what time it is?
Adventure Time.
Yeah.
Nice.
Sing the song.
No. Anyways,
Colin can sing it.
We both can, but we're not going to.
Come on, Colin. Come on, grab your friend. Go off to ferry.
I need to hit you in the nuts for you to get the
Chase
fish
the
right.
dog and fin the human. Fun will never end. It's adventure time.
Nice. I finally finished season 9.
Oh, yeah, you can put.
You got really excited about that.
No, I got real sad.
Dude,
the end, like the
so,
later
yeah,
seasons are sad.
I've been putting it off in case the listeners haven't noticed. There's been like a month where I didn't have anything because I was like, hey, this is going to end and I don't like it. So I put it off for a little while. Had other things to do. And so now I've finished season 9, which is thankfully back to a normal, I believe, 12 to 16 episodes. I don't remember exactly, but it's back to like a normal length. Adventure Time has had some weird seasons that are really long.
52 episodes.
Drives me crazy.
It's like most of the first seasons of Cartoon Network shows.
Yeah, it's understandable. It's just kind of annoying.
I like it.
So I'm enjoying it. There isn't much to talk about that isn't stupidly spoilery. I really like the first episode just being entirely dream related. It was really trippy. I very much so enjoyed that. It felt like an epilogue to season 8 because the arc of season 9 doesn't really kick in until the second episode.
Yep.
I
like
that
how they have
Jake
those
twist
periods
towards the end of the season is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Past that, not much of it can be discussed, and that's cool.
About him.
Yeah. I'm really liking it. I'm gonna get really depressed when I finish season 10 probably next week.
Well, I've got a recommendation for you after that.
You mean the follow-up mini-movies?
Besides those, I'll talk about when we're talking about what we're reading.
Oh, okay. Colin, what else have you been watching?
That's it, pretty much.
And Knocked Out.
I've been trying to keep up with The Boys.
Ooh.
Season 2.
No spoilers, please.
Not really a whole lot to say. It's just more of The Boys. It's good. I think they've actually toned down
really
some of the edginess, which I kind of appreciate. The first season was like, come on, you only put that in here just to be edgy. Like,
yeah,
there's no point to this. But season 2 is edgy enough, and I really like it. I only have like half the season to catch up on, so I'm working on it.
Alright.
Nice.
Noise.
So you guys know a movie that came to Disney Plus that was supposed to be released in theaters.
Mulan.
No.
Black Widow.
No, because that's not going to Disney Plus.
Give me a minute. Give me a minute.
It's adapted from a young adult novel series.
Oh.
It has a really good director.
Percy Jackson.
No.
That's the other one.
Artemis Fowl.
Ha! I got it.
The reception has been atrocious for a reason. I knew I wasn't going to like it. I read a couple of the books, and I enjoyed them when I was younger. They're just not quite up my alley. Once I saw the first couple of trailers and I realized the direction they were taking, I knew I was going to hate it. Yeah, it was... It's a lesson on why not to make a script by a committee. It's got like half a dozen plus writers. Even worse, the committee doesn't even understand the process of adaptation. It's kind of removes what makes the books interesting in the way of like the perspective being different, because the kid's a bad guy. He's just not a horrible human being. Now he's just kind of a good guy, and you can tell that they've removed that in a very awkward fashion. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It was pretty much doomed from the start, even with a really good director like Kenneth Branagh, who I freaking love some of his work. Even that you can't save this movie with some solid directing here and there, and honestly a lot of really bad direction. The editing room turned what could have been an enjoyable mess into a migraine, including clustercluck structurally as well as visually. I genuinely got a really big migraine while watching this and wanted to throw up.
Cool.
It hurt to watch, not just emotionally, but like physically hurt to watch, because it was edited so disgustingly bad, and there was so much ADR and added voiceover, and the reshoots and the re-editing was disgustingly obvious.
You know what else had ADR and bad voiceover?
Something you've been watching?
I was just going to say the New Mutants.
Also true. That definitely was a thing.
Remember you guys talking about that?
Yep. So I don't recommend Artemis Fowl. I knew I wasn't gonna like it, but I was bored and said, screw it, let's waste 2 hours of my life, and I'm gonna forget it tomorrow.
Cool.
Jacob, have you been watching anything else?
I'm gonna lump my video game experience into what we've been watching, because Colin's gonna destroy us with what he's been reading. So
yes.
I need to try to win this one. The video game that I was gushing about last week and had no words to gush with, that, by the way, Spencer claimed to know and had no idea what it was.
Yeah, I was totally off on some other planet. I guessed very, very wrong.
It is Observer, made by Bloober Team, who I meant to Google what else they've done. They've done Layers of Fear and a whole bunch of other games that you may recognize, like the Blair Witch game that came out last year. Layers of Fear 1 came out in 2016, and Layers of Fear 2 came out in 2019. And I thought there was one more, but I'll just cut it off there. Anyway, my first experience with a walking simulator, if you dare call it that. It's very interactive, though. Very quickly into the game, it has your... The story is that you are a detective or an inspector in a very cyberpunk Blade Runner type world, right?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why I was playing it. I read an article saying if you cannot wait for cyberpunk, play this game.
Read? You don't just read picture books like us?
I read some things sometimes.
Oh, okay.
You should see the novel I've been working on for the last month.
Ooh.
It's like 2 inches thick.
Hey.
Anyway, so you investigate several crime scenes in the game, and doing that reminded me of the Batman Arkham investigations, like the good investigations.
Nice.
You have 2 different filters, one for biohazard, blood basically, materials. You can also search the bodies for scratches or bullet holes or whatever with that filter, or you can switch over to the tech side and look for anything techie in this cyberpunkian world to figure out what really happened in the crime scene. So that's a large portion of the game. But walking is also a large part of the game. You not really interrogate, but you talk to the neighbors and piece together information and go around to the hotel and some of the surrounding buildings, trying to figure out what's going on. The story moves quick. I beat the game in 6 hours, and I'd say probably 1 hour of that was spent leaving the game running while I was making dinner. So it's pretty short. There were a couple of times where I was frustrated, like, how the frig do I walk slowly past this stupid frigging monster? So I cheated and Googled it. But
shame, you're not an epic gamer.
I know.
Don't worry, I did the same thing.
It's because
Colin, you're not an epic gamer.
No, I'm not. I've never have been.
It's because I'm not used to walking sims, okay?
I love my walking sims.
Actually, the first time I saw the monster, I was like, oh, I'm supposed to walk up to him, and because I was in a dream, I was like, oh, there's the next piece of the dream, and I walked right up to him, and he crushed me. I was like, shit.
Just walk up to him. He's going to give me a bowl of happy juice.
Yeah.
Nice.
2 different endings. I probably won't go back and see the other ending. But also,
Just look it up.
They are remastering it as we speak and bringing it to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and also next-gen games. And adding 3 quests, I believe, which is quite a bit. Because
Quest? I'm already on a quest.
Right.
Sorry.
Understandable.
Sorry, obligatory Shrek reference.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Skyrim because
also
you're
yes, but I was
constantly on Quest.
I thought you were talking about Witcher 3.
Any RPG. Literally any RPG, but also Shrek.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, I used my silver bullet on Spencer and said, because you made me watch these 2 movies that I really hated, I'm making you play this game. You will love it, and also probably piss yourself because you hate horror stuff.
But I do like walking simulators.
But it's so good.
You don't like horror stuff? Oh,
Yeah.
You had to walk out of it chapter 2, which is understandable.
Yeah, it's just some things just get really, really under my skin.
I just wanted to torture myself.
I also do that with lots of other things, but some stuff is just too much, and I know I'm gonna go crazy forever. Horror games are very back and forth. Like, I love Dead Space. That game is a masterpiece.
I want to play that. I think I have that
one
on
is
like
good.
the original.
Yeah, the first Dead Space. Dead Space 2 was pretty good. 3 is meh, but like
meh.
If it's good quality, I will enjoy it. It's just a matter of I can't watch schlocky stuff or excessively,
Isn't one of
gore fest things that are just there because they're there.
In my 6 hours of gameplay, I think I had 3 solid scares.
Nice.
So
Isn't one of
So that means more like 6 for me, but okay.
Isn't one of the Dead Space 2, or not Dead Space 2, but like one of the Dead Space games where like if you play like multiplayer, not multiplayer, but like 2 people, like one person
3.
hallucinates. That's 3.
3 is ish.
Because I heard that was pretty cool.
Pretty sure that's 3. That might have been 2.
I saw like a clip and I was like, oh,
replay
that's really
1
cool.
more frequently than the other 2 because it's a hell of a lot better, but
I've only played 1 and I'm not sure I finished it. But it is really, really good. I enjoyed it.
That sort of stuff I really enjoy. It's just a matter of having some bloody creativity to it. Otherwise, I'm gonna be miserable, and I'm aware that I'm watching something I hate, and it doesn't bring me into the process at all.
Also, I have to mention, just to keep my credentials active, I accidentally clipped out of a wall and had to start the 10 minutes back, and that was really frustrating.
Nice.
But I'm just gonna assume that that's patched out with the remake. So
one would hope.
Spencer, what else have you been doing with your life?
That is all out of the things I've been watching.
I win.
Yeah.
All right.
So Colin, what have you been reading?
I've been reading quite a bit. So how do you guys want to do this? Do you want just to do normal?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So I will start off with I read Batman Year 100.
Yay!
Which took me forever to do, but I read it in one sitting the
Good.
other day.
Like 2 issues. It's pretty small.
It's not 2 issues.
It's like maybe 3.
It's like 8.
What?
Not 8. No. It's like 5. It's 5.
Those are small issues. That's not a big book at all.
No, not really.
Huh.
Well, I mean, Curse of White Knight's 8, but that's pretty good size.
Well, yeah, but like,
those are longer
does
issues.
Year 100 not have a lot of like covers and alternates in the back or something? Because
No.
it looks like a pretty lean book.
No, it's just the thing itself.
Whip it out, baby. I want to see.
All right. It's pretty good size, so.
Let me feel it. Oh, I thought it was smaller than that.
No, me too. It's not.
I haven't read this one.
I read
You
it a
can borrow
while.
it.
I read it a while back. It's really good.
Cool.
I liked a couple things, and for the most part, it's not something I'd go back to. I liked it for its cyberpunk, the idea of Batman being around for like 100 years, dating back to Germany. Oh, he has a Batmobile, but it's a motorcycle, but it hangs like a bat.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
It's so cool though.
But I love it. And how they do certain characters, I like as well. But for the most part, I wouldn't read it again. I would recommend others to read it though, because the art is quite interesting.
Fair enough.
That is one of the things I've been reading.
Jacob, what have you been reading?
This week was a roller coaster because I read possibly the worst comic book I've ever read, and possibly one of the best comic books I've ever read.
What's good bad?
That's what I was gonna do. Let me take you back.
Okay.
A week ago? 2 weeks ago? When I was talking about Ghost in the Shell 1
Yeah.
Yes.
and saying that it was good. Ghost in the Shell 1 is a masterpiece, okay?
Uh-huh.
It's freaking beautiful. It's a little offbeat, but that makes it unique. It's great. 1.5 adds a few details in between, but it's fine. It's good. Ghost in the Shell 2.0 is a literal poop from a butt.
Wow.
Really?
The artwork is very different, and kind of sucks. Most of 2.0 is colored, whereas most of 1.0 was black and white. And 2.0 colored looks like it was made in Microsoft 3D Paint. It looks like really bad 3D textures.
I hate that.
And the story is like, imagine your typical 1990s Hacker Man movie.
Oh no.
It's
I'm
like,
in.
It's like
I'm in. I've hacked their mainframe.
It's
Where's
like
my keyboard?
that on repeat. It's like that dude, that Hacker Man, on an acid trip, but it's also a wet dream because there's a lot of nudity. There's like nudity on every page.
Oh my goodness. So is it something like this?
No.
Sound like that?
No, it's the best way I can describe it is like a typical submarine movie, or maybe like Star Trek when they're shouting directions. It's kind of like that,
but with
endlessly.
Movies.
Ouch.
That's rough.
Freaking painful.
I would hate that.
You might appreciate it though.
What?
Because the story is about a robot android, I don't know what you want to call it, recognizing reality.
So it's mainly like an introspective reality type of deal, I guess.
But that only wraps up in the last couple pages. When she realizes herself and reality and pretty much becomes human. So the rest of it is all Hacker Man jargon.
Yeah.
It's rough. It was so bad.
It tends to do stuff like that.
I had to read it in one day just to make sure I finished it because I was never going back.
Yeah, I would have to do the same.
That's rough.
A book like that, probably.
Now I'm interested purely out of how crappy it is.
Well, it is yours to borrow.
Sweet. So I read Jedi Fallen Order Dark Temple, which is a prequel tie-in comic to the Jedi Fallen Order video game.
So it's a prequel to a prequel.
It's a prequel to a prequel, but it's a sequel to the prequel trilogy.
Whoa.
It's a sequel, prequel, sequel.
It's a tie-in. It's a 5-issue miniseries that was published last year in 2019, written by Matthew Rosenberg and illustrated by Paolo Villanelli, I think is how you say it.
They saw Borderlands pre-sequel and they were like, oh, we can top that.
It is Star Wars. They do weird things like that.
You think that? Just wait till we make this.
Yeah. So it follows the not your master, as in the protagonist master in his first one, but Seer Junda, the mentor that you have in the game. It follows her as a Padawan and her master, who is the person whose data logs we're following throughout the game. So it is relevant to the game in that sense. It provides greater context and backstory for that character, but it's not required reading. So it was I thought it was a really good use of setting and political conflict. It was basically like land disputes, not, episode 1 sort of taxation problems, but like interplanetary and intercultural clashes on a planet sort of deal. I thought that was done pretty well. It was a lot of, well, actually, they're not really bad, but they're not right, and it was like everybody kind of sucks. It plays into that Clone Wars, like prequel era, kind of all these planets are all screwed up.
And I'm sure that's exactly why you liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The art I thought was pretty good. It was a bit boring. I wouldn't say it's entirely simple, but on occasion some of the proportions could be a little funny. Not that much. It seemed it might have been a little rushed, maybe. I haven't looked at any of the artist's other art so far, but it was all right art-wise. The action was done fairly well. Good characterization and surprisingly good dialogue for a Star Wars book about politics. I really, really, really enjoyed the dynamic between the two. It feels like... I don't think either of you guys have actually read Star Wars Master and Apprentice, but that's the Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon prequel book.
Yep.
So you know how Qui-Gon is like loosey-goosey, following the Force, not really committed to the Order, but Obi-Wan is like all by the book, and then that kind of plays off into the sense that he loosens up a little but Obi-Wan is still by the books and Anakin is so not by the book. It's like that. So Seer is like entirely, she's very, it's difficult to phrase it. She's very face value, headstrong sort of deal. And then her master is very not. He is similar to Qui-Gon. He's more interested in the people and their cultures and the history stuff, and sometimes he can get lost in it and forget about the actual conflict.
Right.
So it didn't feel like copy pasta of other master and apprentice relationships, but it felt similar in a good way. They provide good contrast for each other.
Okay.
There was a framing device of the whole book being the second sister, who is Seer's fallen apprentice, which you find out in the actual game. It's her kind of following the locations that the main story takes place in, but like a decade later. And it basically just ends with, yes, my master and her new apprentice, whose name is said, meaning Cal Kestis, but is never mentioned in this book because he's not relevant to this book. So it's like, they were here, and it just feels that part hurt. Like the prequel part was great, but the direct tying in to the story of Fallen Order was painful and really cringy. And it wasn't that much. It was like a page per issue, but
right.
it really brought it down.
Right.
Frankly, I think it didn't overplay its welcome. I think this could have theoretically been expanded into like a full novel with the amount of back and forth that they had with the different cultures and the relationships. I felt like could have been reworked and expanded upon for like a full book.
Honestly, the game made for it to be really easy to be expanded upon. So they had a lot of material to play with. Yeah,
so I definitely enjoyed it in that sense, and I think they were being conservative with the amount of political and jargony type stuff, which Star Wars is still a little scared to do, which is understandable because of how badly the prequels were taken at the time. So it makes sense. It's just like, I get why you'd want to play it safe. But I enjoyed it. Would recommend if you played the game, which I believe both of you guys have played the game.
Yep.
Have both of you guys beaten the game?
Yep.
Nope.
Okay. I have 100%ed the game because I'm a completionist and I have problems.
Yes.
Anyways,
I was really, really close, but
it's not a hard game to do, honestly.
No.
I
almost had everything.
I honestly thought it was really well balanced in the amount of collectibles and how difficult they were, but it wasn't overkill. Anyways.
I was like, I could 100% it, or I could trade it in a GameStop right now for an actually decent price.
Fair. I literally borrowed Colin's copy after you had gotten basically the first planet, and then I beat the entire game 100% of it in like 2 weeks max, and then I just gave it back. 100% every achievement, everything in the game, out of the game, all done.
Nice.
Colin, what else have you been reading?
Okay, so I have also, I'm going to skim over two because I don't have really much to say about it. One of them. So I finished one of the newer Daredevil runs.
Ooh, which one?
Let me grab it. Daredevil, No Fear. KNOW, Fear. I beat you to it, Jacob. Beat you to it. By... I cannot...
It's Chip Zdarsky. It's the guy that wrote Spider-Man Life Story.
No wonder I enjoyed it. So actually, I did enjoy it, but I don't have much to say about it other than...
Is it just the one book, or did you finish the entire run?
Just the one book so far.
Yeah, I was going to say, that is a very skinny little guy.
No, there's 3 of them right now.
Oh, okay.
As far as I know.
That's the
first one.
Last run, not the current run, but the one before that, isn't it?
I couldn't tell you.
Cool artwork.
Yeah, no, it was good. That's what kept me going. And then I looked at the second book, and I'm like... What happened to the artwork? I don't want to read this anymore.
Oof.
And so, but yeah, I did that, and that has a lot of like really cool Daredevil moments. But I also read Headlopper, which is an Image Comics story. So Headlopper is one of my favorite storylines so far, of like just stories, and it's about this like barbarian character that you have no idea what his backstory is, who's very stoic, and he carries around a giant blue witch's head because he beheaded her, but she's still alive. And she's like a main key component to the whole story, somehow. But I don't think they even give a reason why he's carrying her.
Yet.
Yeah.
You have 2 other books.
Yes, there's 2 other books. And this was made by Andrew McLean with Mike Spicer. And
judging by the cover art, it looks like Adventure Time meets Mike Mignola.
Yes.
Nailed it.
Yes.
That's how he described it before we were recording.
you know what made me buy this? I looked at it, I'm like, wow, I see Mike and I see Adventure Time. I'm excited. And every little bit is like Adventure Time feeling, but like more adult. It's so good. You should read it.
This looks...
This character, I love him. I love him so much.
This looks really, really interesting.
Yeah, dude.
Nice.
It's so good.
I have too much to read before I leave, so...
I literally have a stack. Just take it. I'll get to it eventually. I'll go buy it myself and do it then.
Your stack is growing too because of...
It's definitely a buy because I bought like the other 2 because I kept this on my shelf and I didn't read it for a while and then I finally picked it up because I had time at work and I read it. I finished it that day at work. I'm like, oh no, I have an addiction. I need more. And so I got the 2 other ones, which are smaller than the first one. This is a thick boy.
That is pretty thick.
And I don't know if there's going to be more. I know literally nothing about this other than I love it, and I need to research more about it.
I do not know who I am. I do not know why I am here. All I know is I must read.
Yes.
Get back to us next week.
I shall.
So, possibly one of the best comic books I've ever read.
Please, pray do tell.
Astonishing X-Men by Joss Whedon.
Oh, you finally got around to reading it.
And I have his name right here. The art by John Cassaday.
How many books in did you get?
The omnibus that I bought has 1 through 24
Nice.
and Giant Annual X-Men number 1, I believe.
Half of it, I think? Something like
Yes,
that.
it
Nice.
definitely ended on a cliffhanger, and I need the rest of it. I do not know how to get the rest of it.
Please tell me about this because I read it a little while ago, and then I read it when I was a kid, and that was one of the books that actually got me interested in X-Men.
This is definitely my favorite piece of X-Men content, whatever you want to describe it as.
Dang, that's a high bar.
Blew my mind.
Wow.
Well then.
I don't even know what to say anymore about it. It was a really good story.
It's phenomenal.
Would one say it's astonishing?
Nah, I'd say it was amazing. But they'd already used that term.
I honestly like that really weird trend of most of the X-Men books having like just a silly little adjective that they stab in front of it. I always find it funny. I've always been fond of uncanny. I like that one.
So, I know the X-Men is Marvel's favorite way of diversifying characters, and I kind of roll my eyes at that. I understand why, and I don't want to get into it, but this was a straightforward superhero comic book.
That's
there
nice.
was no browbeating of agendas. Like, there were some planets with some political commentary if you wanted to read into it, but I was happy to just skip over it.
I got stupidly excited when freaking Colossus came back. I lost my mind.
I didn't know he was missing, but...
I did, and I don't know why I did. I just did, for whatever reason.
That reminds me of another thing. This book had 6 or 8 pages of here's what you don't know about X-Men, and it goes back to the freaking beginning and gives you the highlights of what you've missed so that you understand pretty much what's going on in this book.
Nice.
That's what every freaking Marvel omnibus needs.
Yeah,
Please.
I do agree, particularly because they have their one timeline, so it can get a bit much sometimes.
Yup.
Nice.
So give me a minute, because there's a couple of jokes that might not have been intended as jokes that I want to read. I'm back.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, that art looks not too bad.
Yeah, artwork's amazing.
That's definitely an omnibus. It smells like an omnibus. You know, omnibuses have different smells.
Let me smell. Can I smell? Can I please
How
smell?
can you smell? I've got your freaking runny nose already.
I think all three of us have runny noses today.
I did not today until I saw
booger
you.
in my nose, and I've been waiting for just us to finish recording to like blow
Yeah.
I forgot to while I was pooping.
All right. So, at the very end, there's I don't know, 3 pages.
Oh my gosh, the snorting! It's all in the recording, dude!
Joss Whedon planning emails, and they've got to be fake. But what I thought was really, really funny, let me find it. First email, he's listing ideas of what to have in the storyline. So, for example, he's like Wolverine, dead, Professor X walking his entire device, but have we ever seen him skipping? So it's all a bunch of gags. But he wraps it up with that he's not a very good writer. I'm glad to have had the opportunity to put forth my Grant Morrison-esque mission statement, and remember, I'm too powerful to kill for now.
Okay.
So he clearly wrote this long before Justice League happened.
That's rough. That aged like milk.
Yeah. So there was another good gag. He wanted to have a character called Hell Ass Dammit, all one word.
I love that.
And the sentence to sell this character was, "We're flying into the ass of hell, damn it."
Wow.
And then the one last joke that I liked was about, supposedly halfway through writing the story, he's like, I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm having a really hard time writing. It's really boring. Hey, if I suck at this, people are going to notice, right? Oh, well, maybe I can make Emma Frost neuter.
That'll be pretty tricky to do. She's already pretty close.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, great book.
Nice.
Alrighty. Spencer.
So I finally finished X-Men Legion Quest, the Omnibus, which is a prequel / tie-in to the Age of Apocalypse storyline. I'm not a massive X-Men fan in terms of books. I've read a lot of the large events and some stuff here and there, but this omnibus was really hard to read.
Yep. That's what I said when I lent it to you.
Yeah. So it has a bunch of different tie-in issues, zero issues, and all of the stuff. It's one story, but it was published through so many different books before and during and after the Age of Apocalypse event, which I did think was a good event, which obviously is not in this omnibus, but the storyline was solid. I enjoyed some of the art, but it did feel inconsistent because it was done through so many different books and different artists, and I think some of them were different writers, so it felt a little bit like it was warring with itself on where it wanted to go. Sometimes there was interesting visuals. It's an omnibus collecting tie-in issues. That kind of explains it. It's
Gotcha.
a bit janky, a little disconnected.
So it's like a companion, it's not a full storyline.
So say you have, it is its own story, but it's because it's being published on, the back end of other books and, as spin-off stuff. It's like a lot of large events, especially on DC, have, a separate omnibus for all the tie-in issues. It's like one of those.
Right, a companion.
Yeah, it's not a bad read. It's decent. There's some cool ideas. It just, because it bounces around so much with different artists and writers and being on different books that published at different times, it ties in well with the event of Age of Apocalypse, but the story kind of suffers for being so connected to other stuff. It's a pretty decent sized omnibus, but it just took me roughly as long as it took to read the Shadowlands omnibus, which is twice as big. So it's alright. It was worth the time to read, but I honestly wouldn't say I recommend it to anybody that isn't already well caught up on X-Men stuff, because you have to do a decent bit of wikiing to find out stuff.
So what you're saying is, I need to read the Age of Apocalypse omnibus and then go back to this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Colin, what else have you been reading?
So, I have found an obsession with Sean Murphy's artwork.
Oh.
No.
So which one of his books did you pick up?
I picked up Tokyo Ghost.
Nice. That's on my list to read.
And there's only 2 of them. So it's a very short read, but it is I like it a lot. It's cyberpunk, and it has, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, super cyberpunk, and it's, it kind of reminds, Dredd reminds me of it, where it's, they have constables because the cops are like dissolved and everything.
Right.
They're like in LA and they go to Japan because Japan's the only place on the world that doesn't have like technology.
Yeah.
Which is like an EMP shit like that, and they just try to go there and get rid of the EMP. But I'm gonna leave details out. I find it very visually appealing.
He does have some really nice artwork.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the Age of Apocalypse Omnibus.
Yeah.
New reprinting, but that's beside the point. And then there's Age of Apocalypse Omnibus Companion and Age of Apocalypse Prelude. I'm screwed. I can't catch up on all this.
It's a bit much. So Jacob, what else have you been reading?
Just to pad out the runtime, I have been reading an actual book with words and only one picture, which is the map, because it's a fantasy world.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I just add one thing real quick? That's one thing that's really cool about Headlopper. There's a map that shows you where he is and where he has been in the last one, or where he is in this comic.
I appreciate that.
I love maps.
Yes, I thought, Spencer would love this immediately. You'll definitely like it too.
So I have been reading The Great Hunt, which is not The Wild Hunt from The Witcher. It is The Great Hunt, which is Book 2 of the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan.
It's on my list of things I really want to get to, but my list keeps getting bigger.
First book is about 1.5 inches thick, and every book after that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, so that by book, 6, you got 6 inches of book to read.
That's a good size right there.
Big ass. 6 inches is a good size, Colin?
Yeah.
You heard it here, folks. So anyway, I'm more than halfway through that. It's tough trying to read that and work at both jobs, my actual career and this one, because it doesn't qualify as a comic. But it is an interesting world that he created. Very solid fantasy setting. It's good. Go read it.
Nice.
It's a great time waster.
Ooh.
Because the books are so effing big.
It sounds it.
Nice. I have not been reading anything else. I have lost.
Colin.
Okay, so 2 of the things I have read are going to be topics for our future episodes, so I won't talk about them. But can I tell them what they are?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So I read Curse of the White Knight, and I finished Dark Victory.
Nice.
And
how long did it take you to finish Dark Victory from when you started?
Okay. I finished the first couple pages when I first started reading it months ago, and I picked it up and finished it in one sitting.
Good.
So I can do it in one sitting. It's just...
You're just special.
Quote, unquote, didn't have the time.
Meaning
I say that a lot.
Got distracted with other things.
I get distracted.
I am impressed with how many books you wrapped up this week.
That is honestly impressive.
Ones that you can have so many going at the same time.
If only you could spread it out a little more and be more consistent.
That's not how I roll.
Let's not push them too far,
yeah,
alright?
that's not really how I roll.
Fair.
I'm special.
Yes, you're very special.
I binge real hard.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything else that I've been reading. Do you?
Wait. I might. Let me think. Oh, I was going to, but then I actually had work to do today.
What?
Wow.
So I will talk about that when I finish reading it.
Nice. So that's the end of that. So Colin still wins.
Haha! I am.
There's a
champion.
first time for everything.
There is.
Hey, I won one of the episodes. I forget, but I remember listening back and I won both of them. But you guys read or watched 1 or 2 things, and I was like, I got the third one on both of them.
Nice. Alrighty, so we're going to go into the news now. Colin had to step out. He has some things to take care of, so it's just going to be the 2 of us now.
Must be nice having a girlfriend.
Yeah, apparently so. So via Dwayne Johnson's Instagram, Aldous Hodge, I don't know.
I think it's Hodge.
That's probably Hodge. Has been cast as Black Adam's Hawkman.
Yay!
The Rock included a little transcript of what their conversation on the phone went like. He called him and he's like, "Yeah, this is The Rock," and the other guy's like, "No, this is a joke." And he walked away from the phone and like came back, and The Rock's like, "Yeah, I'm still here." And he's like, "Wait, this isn't a joke?" It's like, "No, it's Dwayne Johnson. What's up, dude?" And he's like, "Yeah, you know that role you were looking for?" He's like, "Yeah." It's like, "Yeah, we're doing." I think he was talking about like a table read or something of the script. He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna be doing this thing. You got it." And the dude literally was just lost his shit. He's like, "Hold on a sec," and then just walked away and lost his mind and then came back. It gave me a good chuckle.
Cool.
I'm honestly looking forward to this movie, regardless of whether it sounds like it's gonna be a bit towards the Shazam-esque, more towards silly, which there's nothing wrong with that. I was hoping it might be a little bit harder edged, but honestly, either way, you could go either way with these sorts of characters.
Yep.
So D23, the Disney Expo, got announced to be coming back in 2022. I believe they do it every other year normally. I used to keep up with it a lot more. Since Star Wars started having some difficulties, I stopped keeping up with it as much. But
what usually happens at a D23?
So Star Wars stuff, Disney stuff, Marvel stuff. It's a few years ago, I think like 6 or 7 years ago, Marvel started pulling a lot of their panels from Comic-Con, and it started getting less Marvel heavy at Comic-Con, so they just wanted to do it at their own expo for various reasons. Obviously, monetary ones for something, but so a lot of new announcements, merch, definitely merch. It's just its own little convention, so it looks like they're pushing it out far enough in hopes that the Rona has dissipated well enough that they can have a convention.
Cool.
It didn't, by all of the accounts, it didn't look like they were planning on it being digital, so let's hope that's possible.
Yep.
Have an article from comicbook.com. Quote, DC Comics has announced that critically acclaimed duo Grant Morrison and Yannick Paquette will return to the world of Wonder Woman Earth 1 and deliver their third and final volume next year. Wonder Woman Earth 1 Volume 3 is scheduled to be released on March 9th, 2021. The official description for the new volume reads, Diana, now Queen of the Amazons, must assemble the desperate Amazonian tribes for the first time in a millennium. Max Lord's assault on Paradise Island with his destructive Ares armors is on the horizon, and in order to weather the war that is coming, Wonder Woman will need the full might of her sisters by her side. Can Diana finally bring her message of peace to man's world, or will Max Lord's war burn the world and the Amazons to ashes? End quote. I'm stupidly stoked for this. I really like all of the Earth 1 books. A lot.
I haven't touched a single one.
You really should. I think you'd like them.
Cool. More comic books is good comic books.
Yeah, especially these ones, because they don't like have a set release schedule. They just do it as a full graphic novel, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna get to it when we get to it. So the line started, I think, in like 2010. It was a little bit before the New 52 happened, which is one of the reasons why it kind of got buried, because it's similar in tone to the New 52 with the younger, slightly more cynical, realistic, whatever you want to call it. So it kind of got lost in the shuffle, but they keep pumping out books every once in a while, so that's nice. So from DCComics.com, quote, David S. Goyer has played a major role in shaping how today's audiences see Batman. Now the popular film and TV writer, producer, and director wants to shape how we hear him as well. DC, Warner Bros., and Spotify announced today that Goyer will executive produce Batman Unburied, an all-new original narrative podcast that marks the first project to come to the company's previously announced agreement to produce and distribute a slate of narrative podcasts featuring DC superheroes and villains. That's a long sentence.
Yep.
Goyer originated the story for the series and will shepherd the project in his role as executive producer. Spotify will serve as the exclusive platform for Batman Unburied, which is expected to debut in 2021. I've been a fan of narrative podcasts for some time and was looking for the right story. Returning to Batman seems like the perfect opportunity, said Goyer. We'll be using the unique advantages of audio to dig into the more nightmarish members of the Dark Knight's Rogues Gallery, end quote. Finally, we're getting an announcement on where these podcasts are going.
Yes.
And I'm really excited for this.
I, too, am very excited for this.
I included the quote at the end because he says nightmarish members of the Dark Knight's Rogues Gallery, and my first thought was, oh, please be a Scarecrow story.
Yep.
That is perfect for this format.
It just makes sense because it's going to use your imagination to fill in all the blanks like good horror stories do.
I'm glad we're finally getting an announcement of where this platform is going, because we discussed the announcement of the podcast team up thing a few months ago. I'm glad we're finally getting an announcement, and that it's free from continuity and it is just its own thing. That's great as well.
Very excited.
Yeah. So Marvel has cast its Ms. Marvel for the Disney Plus show. It's a young actress who seems to be new, named Iman Vellani, I think is how you pronounce her name. She looks to be a bit on the younger end.
Extremely.
Like early teens.
I was going to say
maybe she's just
10
short.
to 13.
That's what I was thinking. And I wasn't sure where they were going to go with the show, because the character has obviously surged in popularity recently. You have the new Avengers game where she's, I believe, 15 or so.
Something like
Most
that.
of the comic lines are like 15, 16-ish. So if they're saying, hey, screw it, we're going to make something that's a bit more kid-focused, that's going to still be important to the MCU, I think that's neat. And it looks like she's never had an acting gig before, so obviously they see something.
Makes me think that the movie's going to be based off of that comic book that you see everywhere.
Yeah.
That I can't find right now.
The one when it resurged back in I believe it was like 2015, 2016.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it probably will be. Because this version of Ms. Marvel has only gotten popular the past like 5 to 10 years.
That one right there.
Yeah. It's something I haven't honestly read a lot of.
G. Willow Wilson came out in 2014 for any listeners that really give a crap.
Yeah, no, I remember it when it came out. I got a lot of positive reviews from like all corners of everywhere. It's like, I'm going to get to it, and I honestly still haven't. So I have very, very little familiarity with this version of Ms. Marvel.
Same.
I have some with the, quote, not the original, but like the older version, who is basically just Carol Danvers. Any of the Marvel heroes with the name Marvel in their name are already confusing.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, and then she was Ms. Marvel for a while.
Yep.
And then she's back to Captain Marvel now, and now there's a different Ms. Marvel. It's weird. But they're not related in any way, shape, manner, or form in terms of powers or capacities or relation. It's weird.
Well, actually, just kidding.
There is no actually moment. So something I would argue is somewhat controversial. Amber Heard confirms she will be returning to Aquaman 2 despite ongoing legal drama. Man, do I have mixed feelings on this. Meaning mixed to negative.
Oof.
Amber Heard. Don't have much else to say.
I don't think I could include that.
No, you should do it. I don't care. They had weird chemistry in Aquaman, to be honest.
Yep.
I like the movie, and I don't think she was bad in the role, but their chemistry was a little weird. And I understand wanting to keep continuity, because I'm a big continuity head, but she should not be getting work with what's going on right now.
You're
she
not
really
just
shouldn't.
A big continuity head.
But, the fact that Johnny Depp's career is currently in the gutter, even though most of this stuff is pretty much just turning around and being very Amber Heard heavy. It's a weird time to come out and confirm she's going to be doing this.
Yep.
I'm kind of confused by Warner Bros. Deciding to keep her in terms of publicity-wise, because Warner Bros. And DC always needs good publicity in their movie front, because they still have a lot of bad baggage with the general public, and this is something that reached a lot of major headlines. Most people know Amber Heard is not a good person. So, odd.
Cool.
But, and then the last bit of news, which I think is one rife for discussion, according to an exclusive Hollywood Reporter source, Jamie Foxx is in final talks to return to the Spider-Man intellectual property as Electro once again in the third Tom Holland Spider-Man film. And then today, the actor confirmed this on his Instagram, and he also said he won't be blue this time, which is cool. He just threw it out there. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to be blue this time. It's weird. But, yeah.
I'm down. I'm
honestly,
into it.
I am, because obviously it's not the same continuity. It's a different version of it. And he definitely gave that thing his all. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was pretty freaking bad, but, he certainly was acting his butt off. That was just a horrible script and a bad movie. And
I actually liked Amazing Spider-Man.
What?
To a point.
I liked the original
It's
Amazing Spider-Man.
the same reason why I like Spider-Man 3. There's a lot of wasted potential.
Definitely agree on
for
the
what it should have been.
Same. I have that problem with a lot of things. And
Obviously, you're a freaking Snyder cultist.
Yes, I am. You know, I think this is good because it, like, some people are pulling rumors out of their butts saying that this is some sort of a Spider-Verse crossover in live action or whatever. It obviously isn't. They're just doing what they did with J.K. Simmons and recasting, just casting him as J. Jonah Jameson again, but an entirely different version in this new continuity.
Yep.
They're obviously just doing that. I'm kind of glad he's not going to be the blue version of Electro.
Yep.
I like the blue version, but I also do like the kind of corny yellow and green one. It's a bit goofy.
Definitely. I like the yellow and the green.
I'm really weirded out by this. One of the villains they're choosing for this movie, though. That was the thing that caught me off guard with this, not the actual fact that they're using the same actor again, was the fact that a lot of the rumors and speculation for this movie was a lot of, like, Kraven the Hunter, the Chameleon type stuff, Scorpion coming back. But they're using Electro somewhere in there? It just seems very out of left field for what the speculation and some of the, like, casting calls and stuff have seemed to be looking for. It's odd. I have nothing against it. It just seems a little funny. But yeah, this
we shall see.
This broke the internet, at least on Spider-Man Twitter, which Spider-Man Twitter is extremely volatile. Spider-Man fans are almost as toxic as Star Wars fans.
And honestly, Spider-Man Twitter pretty much carries the internet. Just like Spider-Man holding that ship together.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this will be interesting.
Sure.
I do like Jamie Foxx. I have to say, he looks impressively young for how old he is.
Yep.
He's, I believe, in his late 40s.
So doesn't Samuel L. Jackson.
Also true, to a lesser extent, but, like, yeah, but Jamie Foxx looks like he's, like, 32.
I'd say 40.
Maybe 40. I don't know. He ages well. It's impressive. So that is the end of the news.
Yay.
It's also the end of this podcast.
Nope. We have
housekeeping.
We got some housekeeping, baby.
Yeah. So now that
I want to announce it.
Okay.
I worked hard for this, man.
Okay.
We are now found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, of course, Amazon/Audible, and I forget which one I chose, if it was Stitcher or iHeartRadio, but we are on
iHeartRadio.
A lot more platforms now. So if you don't like Spotify or YouTube, go find us somewhere else.
Well, I mean, but also come back to the YouTube and give us more views and give us all the likes, please.
I don't really care about likes, but comments are cool.
Yeah, so, yeah, thanks for listening. This is episode 11.
Yep.
It's kind of crazy. So you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can send us an email at dimecomicbros@gmail.com. Send us a meme, send us hate mail, anything. Don't care. Send us mail. Give us interaction. We also have a website at dimecomicbros.podbean.com. Come check it out. It just hosts all of our podcasts. We've got some information on it, as well as links to all of our social media. As Jacob just said, we are available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and I'm pretty sure that other one is iHeartRadio. Honestly, I don't remember. Yeah, give us it on any of those platforms. Please do subscribe to us, follow us, whatever the terms are. Give us comments and likes, and if you have any feedback, anything along those lines. And we do have a Patreon at patreon.com/dimecomicbros. There are quite a few different tiers with lots of spicy content, including stickers, private conversations with this entire podcast, voting on topics, getting your name shouted out, and some commissioned art by Colin. So
also, there should be a little asterisk after the promised phone call with us. Colin will stay for the whole phone call. He won't run out like a little girl like he did tonight.
Fair point. Yeah, so come visit us over at Patreon. Totally understand if you can't commit to anything. We're all a bunch of broke people over here, so we get it. But if you can, it's greatly appreciated. Yeah, that's all I've got. You
Cool.
have any final thoughts?
Should we tease what's next week?
We're going to be talking about Batman White Knight next week. The Sean Gordon Murphy DC Black Label miniseries thing. The thingamabobber. Yeah. All three of us are going to be here next week as well.
Probably.
Yes.
But next week is a different week. Anything could happen.
We're going to tie Colin down so we can record this thing.
Sounds kinky.
There we go. That's one of your first takes.
Why are you gay?
Because I want to do things for Patreon.
Nipples!
Like, how does that count as an opening joke? Where do we go from here?
Well...
That's when you just roll the intro song. And then you pretend it never happened.
I need to get out of the way. It's bothering me so much.
Oh, dude, that was so bad. I gotta blow my nose. My nose is freaking peeing. It's horrible.
Me too, after seeing his fatty. Oh. Can you hear that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
I can play the trombone.
That's pizza.
There's a couple other bones you can play.
I'm not playing your bone.
Tromboner. So...
Pizza. You get the opening bit, and then you can edit around it.
I haven't been watching Jack.
So...
I watched a lot of YouTube. I'm trying to decide if I want to use the joke I made up now or at the end.
Now.
I'll use it at the end.
Okay.
I'm gonna use it at the end. Your watch just lit up, and I was like, "You've got an electronic watch?" No, it's just a reflection of my computer screen.
Do 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 do.
I refuse to include that. Okay.
That's another reason why I'm doing it, because then you have to cut it. Yes, I am. Yes, yes, I am. Yes, I am.
This DJ is so funky, man.